Hey guys, so today what we're going to be doing is operations with complex numbers. Now I don't know if you remember, but a complex number is something like this: 3 plus 2i. Okay, that's a complex number. Okay, 3 is the real component, and 2 is the imaginary component, and both of them together, this is a complex number written in standard form. Okay. So one thing we're going to do is take complex numbers and add them together. We might also subtract complex numbers. So we'll start off with something like this, right? Let me give you an example. We have 7 minus 9i, 7 minus 9i, plus negative 6 plus 4i. All right, so we'll go ahead and start off with this guy. Basically, we're just adding these two complex numbers together. All right, so always look out in front. If there's nothing written in front, you could remove the parentheses. Okay, so it's 7 minus 9i. And then this guy, if you look out in front, it's got a plus sign. So if it's got a plus sign in front, you could remove the parentheses too. So we just have minus 6 plus 4i. Okay, and now we're just going to combine like terms. 7 and negative 6, those are like terms. So 7 minus 6 is 1. Okay, and we have negative 9 of the i's, and we're adding 4 of them. So negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5 of the i's. Okay, and that's the sum of these two complex numbers in standard form. Notice 1 is the real component, and negative 5 is the imaginary component. Okay. Let's try a subtraction problem. We'll do the exact same thing. 7 minus 9i. This time I'm going to subtract negative 6 plus 4i. Okay? All right, so it's the same idea. Look out in front. If there's nothing written there, then go ahead and remove the parentheses. So we have 7 minus 9i. All right, now this guy's different. If you look out in front, there's a negative sign. So we have to distribute that negative to everything inside. So distribute the negative to everything you see inside. So it's negative times negative is a positive 6, okay? And a negative times a positive is a negative 4i. All right, now combine like terms. We have a 7 and a 6. 7 plus 6 is 13, okay? And here we have negative 9, and here we have negative 4 of the imaginary terms. So altogether we have negative 13 of the imaginary terms, okay? And that's how you're going to add or subtract. All right, let's try multiplying. All right, let's do the same complex numbers. Let's do 7 minus 9i. Okay, and let's do multiplied by the same thing, negative 6 plus 4i. So this time, if you notice the operation between them, it's not plus, it's not subtraction. It is multiplying. Okay, so this time you're going to have to remember how to distribute everything. Okay, so we have a 7 times a negative 6. Okay, so 7 times negative 6, that's negative 42. Okay, then it's 7 times 4i, so that's positive 28i. Okay, then we have negative 9i times negative 6. So that's plus 54i, okay? And then we have negative 9 times positive 4i, so that's negative 36. But remember, it's I times I, so that's I squared, okay? All right, now, there's something I need to show you before you go on, okay? What you need to know is that anytime you see an I squared, and we've talked about this before, okay? Anytime you see an I squared, that's going to equal negative 1. Okay, I squared equals negative 1. You have to remember that. Okay, so basically right here, you see an I squared here, don't you? So that's really going to be a negative 1. Okay, so that's really a negative 1. All right, so watch what we have. We have negative 42. Okay, we have 28 of the imaginary, 28 i's here, and we have 54 i's here. So you add those together. Okay, and that's going to be 82, I believe. Okay, so that's plus 82 of the i's. Okay, And then here we have a negative 36 times an I squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1, so it's really a negative 36 times a negative 1. So a negative 36 times negative 1 gives us actually positive 36, so plus 36. Okay? And now all we have to do is combine this with this guy right here. So negative 42 plus 36, I'll give you a second to figure that out. It's still going to be negative, okay? And that's going to be negative 6, okay? Plus 82i. All right. That was kind of a beast, man. Big numbers, a lot of number crunching there. Okay, let's see if we could do another one. Maybe easier numbers to crunch. Okay, let's try this. How about 2 minus I times, let's do 2 plus I. Okay, let's just do that. That sounds fun. All right. So here we go. We have 2 times 2, that's 4. Okay. Then 2 times I, that's 2 times I, that's plus 2i, okay? Then we have negative I times 2, so that's still 2i, but it's negative, so minus 2i, okay? And then here we have negative I times I, so a negative times a positive is a negative, and an I times I is I squared, okay? All right, and let's go ahead and combine like terms. We have 4, okay? Now, 2i minus 2i, right? 2i minus 2i, they cancel, don't they? So they're gone. Okay, then we have minus I squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1, right? So this is minus negative 1. Minus 1 times negative 1, that gives me a plus 1, doesn't it? So plus 1, 4 plus 1, that's 5. Okay, so quick question. What's the real component? You're right, the real component is 5. What's the imaginary component? The imaginary component is 0. There isn't an imaginary component here. Okay? All right, so let's do a couple that seem a little weird. Okay? Let me show you some oddballs. Okay? Oddballs to focus on. I think that's what they're called in the mathematical world. Okay, oddballs. Pretty sure that's the technical name for them. Okay, let's do something like this. What if I just have 2i times 3 plus 4i? Okay, all right. Well, this case, you just have an imaginary term, so we're going to distribute it to both of those guys. Okay, distribute it there. And we get 2i times 3, that's 6i, okay? And then 2i times 4i, 2 times 4, that's positive 8, and then I times I is I squared. Okay, remember I squared, that's negative 1. So this is really 8 times negative 1, so we get 6i, and then positive 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. And now all you have to do is just switch it. So it's negative 8 plus 6i. Okay, that's a positive 6i, so you put the plus. All right, so that's one example. Let's do another oddball. Okay, these are just kind of, they look different. Okay, so we have something like this. What if I have negative 3i times negative 10i? Okay, all right, doesn't it look like, oh, we're supposed to do FOIL, right? Didn't we do FOIL over here? This times this, and then this times this. But if you look carefully, it's just one term times one term. So it's actually easier, okay? But I have a feeling most of you guys will make mistakes because you'll go negative 3 times negative 10 and then 3 times I and I times negative 10 and just be weird mistakes, okay? This is one term times one term, okay? So negative times negative, that's a positive, right? You don't have to write the plus, I'm just showing you. 3 times 10, that's 30, okay? And I times I, that's I squared, okay? Remember, I squared, that's negative 1. So it's really 30 times negative 1, that's negative 30. Okay? All right, let's do another oddball. What if I have something like this? Okay, what if I have negative 4 minus 8i squared? Okay? I know a lot of you guys think that, oh, distribute the square inside. Don't do it. That square means we have negative 4 minus 8i times itself. Negative 4 minus 8i. Okay? All right, and so negative 4 times negative 4, right? That's positive 16. Then negative 4 times negative 8i, so that's a negative times a negative, that's positive. 4 times 8 is 32i. I. Okay, then we have negative 8i times negative 4. So that's still the same thing. Negative times negative is a positive. 8 times 4 is 32, and it still times an I. Okay, and then finally negative 8i times negative 8i. Negative 8 times negative 8, that's positive 64. And I times I is I squared. Okay. All right. And let's go ahead and clean it up. We have 16, okay? Here we have 32 i's plus 32 more i's, so that's plus 64 of the i's, right? It's not I squared because you're adding them. How many i's here? How many i's here? How many all together? Okay, 64 of the i's. And then this guy right here is a negative 1, so 64 times negative 1 is negative 64, all right? And then now we just take 16 and subtract 64 from it, okay? So that gives us negative 48. Okay, and then plus 64i. Okay. All right, and let's do one more oddball, just one, okay? Here we go. Let's do one last little oddball. We have something like this. It looks like 5i times the square root of 8 squared. Okay? All right, so I'm going to do this the same as this. Okay, if it's got all this squared, that just means I have 5i times the square root of 8 times 5i times the square root of 8. Okay, I just write it twice. But notice the difference between these, okay? Here, I had two terms times two terms. It was this times this and this times this. We had to do a whole bunch of that FOIL stuff, right? Here, how many terms do I have here? I just have one. This is one term times one more term. So you don't have to do FOIL. All you have to do is multiply everything together, all in one shot. I still break it up. 5 times 5 is 25. I times I is I squared. And then square root of 8 times square root of 8. Isn't that the square root of 64? Okay. I'm sure you guys know what the square root of 64 is. Okay, but here we go. What do we notice about this? This is really a negative 1, right? So 25 times negative 1, that's negative 25. And then the square root of 64 is just 8, so we multiply it by 8. And guess what that gives us? Negative 200. Okay? All right, guys. Hopefully that's helpful. If you need anything else, just send me a message. I'll be happy to Zoom with you or meet me in office hours. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.